Hey. You know what, Kevin? I am back from like 2 week vacation. I just left you high and dry and just kind of just went with family and kind of disconnected. So I apologize for leaving you, but you seem to be in good spirits nonetheless.
I thought we broke up. I thought you were ghosting me, baby.
You're getting a little too personal because I have done that in the past where I just ghost. But anyway, I don't see you being a therapist always freaks me out. So I can't say too much because you'll start getting into my childhood, and next thing you know, I start crying. So,
well, I'll do my best to stay out of your childhood. Yeah. I can't promise anything, but I'll do my best. Yeah.
Go. I promise you won't get too much into childhood, but check out his content. Kevin W. Peterson, chronichope.us, got all kinds of free resources. If you need to reach Kevin directly, it's all on chronichope.us. He's got this incredible Facebook page that's just families, and he keeps us marketers kind of out of the way, but amazing Facebook group that is just families, all kinds of leaning on each other, and this is what it's all about. So what else is going on? Anything else going on in the Chronic Hope world?
Oh, hey, next week, actually, I'm going to be doing a thing for Jaywalker McCollin on Wednesday night. So we'll have to jump to a different night next week if that's okay with you.
I mean, I leave you for 2 weeks, and then you have all these high expectations of me. Like, I guess.
The key phrase there was "you left me."
And then selfishly, I just want everything back to being normal. And then, that's just the way whatever. So incredible things working. Jaywalker out in Colorado. As long as it's with Jaywalker, and I love them, so you will get a free pass. So we'll have to let the audience know where they're going, but what night of the week we'll be at. But anyway, anything else? Is that the whole Chronic Hope newsletter right there?
That's it, man. That's everything. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay, so hey, we got a bunch of questions coming in, but I've decided to. This could be the worst decision that I've ever made as producer of this show, or it could be the best. And I guess we'll have to, find out. But I just want to go into a lot of it. I took themes away from a lot. Okay. And so one of the main things is just regaining hope. And so there seems to be a lot of hopelessness and you read it. I'm only getting emails and DMs, but you can still feel the hopelessness with a lot of these, families and so forth dealing with, young adults and just the world that we live in today. So is there I know I'm putting you on the spot, but kind of just what are some small steps to kind of with a family, loved one dealing with it, kind of to regain kind of hope?
For the family or for the individual or for both?
For family. A lot of these questions we get with families, so they're just overwhelming with like, do I check this and they're getting this and they're doing this and they're doing this and how do I, is there, tell me, I just want to let the families know that there's some hope, right?
Yeah. Well, so, okay. That's a great question. So here's the thing, and of course I'm always going to spin this back to because it's the question I always get is, they want hope based upon the actions of the individual that's struggling, and I said, well, the hope really comes from you, internally. Is it you taking care of you? It's changing the dynamic of focusing everything on the addict and saying, all our hopes are resting on you. If you're okay, I'm okay. And it's like, okay, stop. That's not going to work. What we got to do is get to a space where you're learning how to take care of yourself. And in that process, providing an example for the other person. So to me, that's how you provide the hope, is by saying, I can't control you. I didn't cause it. I can't cure it. But what I can do is take care of me. And in the process of taking care of me, I'm going to create a new family system where we have hope. And I know that's probably not what people want to hear. A lot of times people are like, so what do you got? How do I fix him? And I'm like, well, I don't have that. What I have is how to fix you. So how do you get that? How do you take care of yourself? Individual therapy, meetings. I would say 12-step meetings or some sort of family engagement meeting. Find your community of people, but find a community of people that are looking for the solution, not looking for the drama and the chaos and the crisis, because that's not going to create hope. Educate yourself. Read all the books there are on understanding the trauma that comes with living in a family of addiction, and learn how to recover from that. That's where the hope is. So.
Well, there's a question that goes kind of hand in hand, which I just got blown away by a mom. She wanted to ask, which is perfect, is what is my role in my loved one's recovery or lack of recovery? I know you were kind of hitting on it, but can you kind of just say, like, you and I always love, we always have these questions, and a lot of the times, half the times, it's a loved one overextending themselves and worrying too much and getting more involved in and you always reel them back and say, that's not your responsibility, or that's not, what is, and if you had to like encapsulate it, what is a family member's role in someone's recovery?
Great question. So what I would say is the role you have in somebody else's recovery is probably more like being a cheerleader, or being, support staff, and by that, what I always tell people is I want to take you out of the addict management business, because frankly, you're not good at it, and it's okay. You're not supposed to be good at it. And if you're busy managing the addict, they're not taking responsibility for themselves. So that's why it's more important for you to stand back and say, gosh, I love you. I think you're freaking awesome. I know you can do this. And I'm going to be here, cheering you along in the process, and then if you fall down, I'll help you get back up. If you need an encouragement or some love or a cup of coffee or a meal, I got you covered. That's perfectly okay. That's no problem. But, your job is not to manage their recovery, manage their business, manage their finances, manage their day-to-day existence. That's their job, is to learn how to do that. Your job is to take the support needed to get to that place.
And you learn this, what you were talking about, kind of connecting through those meetings, through that support, through resources. I mean, you don't necessarily have to do it alone. I think there's a lot of people that think that they're kind of alone in this. And if, what I always find is families that get into support groups and whatever it may be, they instantly come back and be like, I thought I was alone in all this. And so when you start talking therapy and more specifically recovery groups, Al-Anon, and there's a number of them, Family Anonymous and so forth. Yeah. I think that you eliminate you're alone in this whole thing.
Sense of community, find your tribe, and you'll find people to hang out with. And, you can go online. You don't got to go in person. You don't have to jump in and start telling everybody your business. You can just show up and listen and be like, oh, okay, cool. This is, I'm just part of the gang. And I'm a big fan of those things. And some people find that in church. Some people find it at the gym. Some people find it in yoga. Some people find it in 12-step community. Whatever works for you, but find your tribe and engage with your tribe. That's, to me, that's the number one thing you can do to take care of yourself.
And then a lot of along those same lines is that families, and I'm kind of putting everything in together is, families are, moms and dads or what they love the loved ones. And it's so hard for a mom or a dad or fill in the blank, that label, to turn the mom, off or the dad off. And so I think they struggle with when's it, when am I their mom? And, you say you got to get out of the management business. I mean, is there any way of telling like which side of the fence there is mom compared to manager?
Absolutely. The way I always answer that question is, if it's something they can do for themselves, then it's not yours to do. That's how you know. So like the question I got the other day was, where do you draw the line between enabling and just being a parent, right? And I'm like, that's a great question. And here's the answer to the question. If they're capable of doing it themselves, then that's on them, not on you. Now, remember, I didn't say that they're going to do it for themselves. I said, are they capable of doing it for themselves? And if they're not capable of doing it for themselves, then by all means, it's okay to help them. Remember, help is something that is asked for. It's not something that is thrown down on top of somebody, and so that's the critical line. Are they capable of doing it? Then let them do it.
Yeah. Another, I mean, what a lot of people, signs of codependency kind of gets thrown out there. I mean, it seems like there's like a label. It's like a stinky label sometimes, and a lot of people I don't think really truly understand what codependency is, or someone just says, oh, there may be an admissions person or someone on the phone just saying, Marie, you're just codependent, and no one really, I think, takes the time to really truly break down codependency and codependent. I mean, it's a large topic, but can we talk signs of codependency or kind of a simple definition of codependency?
My favorite definition is codependency is driven by the agreement that I will work harder on your problem and your life than you do. That's the simple concept of codependency. I'm going to put more effort and energy into you than you're putting into you. That's it. And in that process, what happens is the codependent person ends up sacrificing of themselves and giving of themselves and not taking care of themselves. And because they think what they're doing is altruistic and the right thing to do, et cetera, et cetera. And then, the other person's just like, yeah, I'm not going to do it anyway, And so that's what we want to avoid. Is there's nothing wrong with offering help to someone, but if they don't take the help, and when I say help, I don't mean doing it for them. I mean saying, hey, do you want me to help you find a treatment center? Do you want me to help you find a therapist? Do you want me to help you with a resume? And help doesn't mean I do it while you sit there and play video games. That's not help, and help is when somebody asks for help, and I mean, you can offer it, but they have to be engaged in the process as well.
How does codependency kind of, what's damaging about codependency in the recovery process?
Well, it stops the person, the addict that's learning how to grow up and become self-sufficient and learn all those new skills that they've been avoiding neatly for a long, long time. It stops their emotional growth and their maturity. And you want to allow them. And part of that process, by the way, is running into a few walls, and putting your hand on the stove a couple of times and like, oh shit, that didn't work. Yeah, you're right. That doesn't work. So let's do it, but let's learn, let's get back up and let's try again, but when you step into somebody and don't allow them to learn from their mistakes and to learn how to make those decisions, that's where you're killing their recovery.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, and we got a lot of questions, kind of the introductory. I think people just finding us. We do this every Wednesday night. Maybe next week we'll do a different night. But anyway, we get a lot of families that are kind of just finding us. So, I want to end on this kind of, what's kind of the first step? We had several this past week of just finding out. They're just, they just came home from a party drunk, and could you kind of just that first kind of there may be a problem here. If it's a mom and dad right now going through like like I never knew there was a problem. He was doing so well. She was doing that. What's kind of the first kind of steps?
Well, the first things first, you want to sit down with the person and say, hey, I'm a little concerned about what's going on. I'm a little nervous that you came home drunk. I'm a little nervous that you're high. I'm a little nervous that I'm noticing some differences in your behavior. And the one thing I always tell people is don't be afraid to speak up and say, I'm noticing something different and I don't like it, you know. But you can't just point out the problem. You have to offer a solution. So initially what I say is, you know, if you think, you know, if it's a kid who's just come home drunk once and you're like, oh my God, this isn't great. Then it's like, hey, let's talk about this. Let's sit down and let's talk about this. And I want to let you know, the boundary is that's not okay. You know, that's absolutely not okay. But I want to help you through this process. So if you're struggling with learning how to say no or learning how to say no to your peer group or whatever the situation is, let me help you. Or let's talk to a therapist, or let's find somebody that can help you with this process. Don't go in heavy-handed and like, you know, with a big stick and I'm going to whack the crap out of you. You know, you got to walk in with like, hey, I love you. The boundary is we don't do this. You know, we don't do drugs and alcohol. We go to school, we attend all our classes, and we turn in all our homework. And the family, we behave a certain way. You know, we have a certain standard of behavior within the structure of our family. And those are always going to be the boundaries in our family. And if you can't meet those, then we're going to start talking about what happens, what the consequences are, you know. But we want to help you succeed. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to help you succeed. But if you can't achieve those things, then let's figure out what the next steps are.
And obviously not when they're drunk or high or something. Like you wait, you know, you wait the next day, correct?
Oh, you always wait till they're hungover, you know. That's what my dad did.
Don't say that, because that's my parents always did. So. Oh
yeah, no, don't talk to them when they're drunk. That's a total waste of time. But you wake them up at like, you know, 8 in the morning when they got home at like 4, and you're like, get up. We're gonna go do some yard work. By the way, everything I'm describing is in my book, Chronic Hope, Parenting the Addicted Child, and Chronic Hope, Families in Addiction. So I'm not just making this stuff up off the top of my head. It's actually been written down. So when somebody tells you, you know, hey, God, somebody should write a book about this. It's like, I did. I wrote 2, you know, please, you know.
And what kind of the overview of those books can you kind of encapsulate it? You know, give me the Amazon kind of rundown of what they're getting out of that book.
Yeah, I actually did. I have no idea. So, yeah. No, it's the first one I did in 2017, the Chronic Hope, Parenting the Addicted Child, because I had a flood of people walking in the door with 16-year-olds. And they're like, oh shit, what do we do? You know, and I was like, okay, well, let's lay out a plan. So what it really does is it lays out a plan. If you think you have a problem, let's go to plan A. Plan A is what I just said. We're going to set boundaries in 3 categories. No drugs, no alcohol. We're going to go to school. We're going to behave appropriately in the family. And there's going to be accountability with each of those boundaries. So we're going to do drug testing. There's going to be breathalyzing. With school, we're going to check the portal every week, and it's going to tell us, did you go to school? Did you turn in your homework? And do you have good grades? And then we're going to have a weekly family meeting where we're going to sit and talk about how everything's going and what's happening, you know. And then, you know, if you're not passing the drug test, then there's going to be some consequences. And the consequences are you're going to lose the privileges. Like you're not going to have a car. You're not going to have money. You're not going to have a social life. You know, we may restrict your phone. We're definitely going to restrict your electronics. You know, we're going to pull things back and, you know, until we can get it together. Same thing with school. Got to have good grades, got to go to class, got to turn in your homework. Check the portal, see if that's happening. If it's happening, great. Then you get to enjoy being, you know, a free member of society. If you're not, then I'm sorry. You're going to have to hang out here until you get your homework done, you know, and you're going to have to show it to me. And you're going to have to, and no, you're not going to go sit in your room and close the door. You're going to sit here at the kitchen table. You're going to do your homework while I make dinner or whatever. You know, and then the family meeting, we're going to have some simple expectations about how we expect people to treat each other. And we're going to review whether or not how that went. And that, I always tell people, have that meeting Friday night at 5:00, and that will determine how the weekend goes. And if things aren't going according to plan, then, you know, you just got a personal assistant for the weekend. Simple and straightforward. I got to tell you, it's just black and white. And the most important thing as the parent is don't come in heavy-handed. Don't come in with a big stick. Don't start trying to be punishing and mean and angry and frustrated. Just walk in and be like, so, hey, this didn't work. And if it continues to go that way, it's like, okay, I think we need to get you some help. If they're struggling at school, let's get them a tutor. Let's talk to the teachers. If they're struggling with staying sober, let's find a recovery coach. If they're struggling within the behavior of the family, let's find a therapist. Let's find a solution.
Good, man. Good.
Yeah.
Find it all on chronichope.us, and we, promote those books. I don't know why not every family in America should be having those books
I
on
agree.
their coffee tables, but that I'm a little biased on that. But anyway, next week we are going to keep the questions coming. It's a lifeblood. I mean, I read every single one of them, and then I always send a little video clip of Kevin sending directly answering your questions. There just seemed to be a lot of themes, and I think we're trying a different kind of mindset. We're just kind of generalizing, which I think Kevin did a tremendous job. But I think that the overriding theme is regaining hope. I mean, there's so much hopelessness. They're overwhelmed. And what I learned from you, and I think I even sometimes forget it, is sometimes taking a deep breath and realizing the world's not crashing down, and it doesn't need, you can handle it. Just cool minds and cool hearts, or whatever they say. You take that breath. It's not the end of the world, and you're not alone.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is that, maybe they just need some help. Maybe they just need a break. Maybe they just need someone to listen, and be that person, provide that opportunity for someone where you're like, hey, I'm here to help, and if they reject the help, then we go to plan B,
Well, we will do this again next week. Tune into our social media channels to see when we're going to do it, but we'll probably do it Tuesday or Thursday, surrounding Wednesday or something. But anyway, Kevin, always a pleasure to grab your time, and we will do this again next week. Keep the questions coming in. Reach out to us if you got any questions. And Kevin, I know, is always here. I'm always here. So let's keep it going. And that's really all I got. Anything else?
No, man, that's it.
You are off the clock. We expunged your brain long enough. But anyway, I'll see you next week, Kevin.
All right, brother. Talk